Morning, everybody, and welcome back to Behind the Curtain of Leadership. So today I'm talking about a topic that should be extremely important to all leaders, but probably isn't talked about as much as it should be. If someone asked you, if someone said, "Hey, Bill, are you really bought into your company?" What do you think Bill would say? Well, Bill would probably say, "Yeah, sure I am, man. I'm bought in. I'm totally bought in, boss. Yeah, absolutely." I mean, when you think about it, what does buy-in even mean, and how important is it? So at a high level, when someone says, "Are you bought in?" what they mean is, do you believe in the company's vision? Do you believe in what the company does? Do you believe in what you do for the company? Do you believe in the leadership? Do you believe in the team around you? And are you given 100%? So when we're thinking about whether a person buys into a leader or a company's vision or goals, there's two kinds of buy-in. There is intellectual, and then there's emotional. And intellectual buy-in is where the person understands the goal or the vision in their head, but they may not really feel an emotional connection to it in their heart. Emotional buy-in is where the person not only understands intellectually, but also has a emotional, heartfelt connection to the goal, the vision, or the person. Now, because of their position, a leader can usually get intellectual buy-in pretty quickly, right? But what they really need to be effective is emotional buy-in. This is what makes people believe in a goal, a vision, a purpose. And when a person or a team believes in something, they're inspired to give their best at all times and to accomplish greatness. So if you remember back to the second element of leadership, it's about inspiring others to become more tomorrow than what they are today. And this is why emotional buy-in is so important. In business, we're dealing with adults, right, who have the option of working at your company or going somewhere else. They can put in a great effort, or they can work just hard enough to get by. So you would naturally think business leaders would want everyone's buy-in to the goals, the purpose of the vision, right? Well, the answer to that question is yes, they do. They do want everybody's buy-in. The unfortunate reality is most of the time, they really don't care about your emotional buy-in. They might say they do, and they might make some efforts to get it. But at the end of the day, they care more about you just going along and doing your job, which is merely intellectual buy-in, right? So why is getting the team's emotional buy-in so important? And there's many situations where getting emotional buy-in comes into play. Some obvious ones are when a new leader takes over a team, or when you have new employees on the team, or maybe when the team isn't performing as expected, whenever there's significant drama in the office, distractions, you know what I mean? And especially when there's a change in vision, direction of the company. Anything related to changing established routines is when buy-in, and primarily emotional buy-in, comes into play. In most companies, there are levels of leadership, meaning there's someone at the top of the org chart who's usually thought of as the leader, right? Then there are layers below this person who also have leadership responsibility. And depending on your business, those layers could be several, many, or few. And some of these people in the layers might be managers, supervisors, team leads, that kind of thing. So we said earlier that many people are leaders even if they don't have the former role. And this is one area where that comes into play. Typically, the leader tries to get buy-in from these sub-leaders, and then the sub-leaders are expected to get the same buy-in from their teams, right? Kind of like a trickle-down effect. And it sounds good on paper. The question is, does this work? Are the sub-leaders actually getting the emotional buy-in from their teams, or are they really just getting the intellectual version? From what I've experienced, most of the time, this process isn't nearly as effective as it could be, and sometimes there are legitimate reasons, right? But usually it's simply because the leadership cares only about your intellectual buy-in. They just want you to do your job. And what I've experienced from the most effective leaders at any level is they're always aware and investing time, effort, and energy in ensuring that all members of the team are emotionally bought into whatever the message is. Establish the vision, introducing change to the organization, process improvement, growth plans, on and on. And here's why that is so crucial. First, People generally like and get accustomed to a routine. They like to know what their day is going to look like and what's expected of them during that day. And anytime you change someone's routine, they want to understand why you're changing it on an emotional level. They may intellectually go along with it at first, but they'll be silently resisting emotionally, and their work effort and attitude will be affected. Number two, people want to understand where they fit in with what the company provides to their customers in the market. They want to believe that they're part of a solution to some meaningful problem, and when they don't, they won't consistently give their best effort. And number three, people want to believe they add value. They want to believe what they do is important and makes a difference in the world. They want to believe that they matter. And the fourth and final one is people who are engaged in their jobs want to be part of creating a solution to a problem. They want their voice to be heard, and they want to know that their leaders actually listen to them. They want to have input, or at least the option of providing input. And now these apply to everyone, every single person, not just the ones who get the most attention, or the ones who have earned or maybe take credit for success, the ones that speak in front of the employees at meetings or company events. Every employee makes a difference, and every person wants to feel like they have some input in what's happening around them. Many times great ideas come from the people who work in the perceived lower jobs on the org chart. Delivery drivers, people who organize and run the warehouse, people who sweep the floor, maybe clean your office, maybe answer the phone, that kind of thing. Each and every one of these people is important to your business and your team. And I'm going to share something I've witnessed countless times in my career working with other businesses and teams. When leaders don't really care that much whether their employees are emotionally bought in, guess what? Their employees don't care either. They care enough about keeping their job for now, but they're looking for another job. They don't feel important to the company's success. They don't have much pride or engagement in what they're doing. Worst of all, you can hear it and see it in their words, in their actions, their work ethic, and their attitude. They literally have an I care, but I don't care that much attitude. And it's infectious. It permeates the team and the business, and it affects everyone around them. These companies usually have developed silos where people in, this department don't play well with people in that department. And I've literally walked into such businesses, and within a few hours of talking with people, this is happening. The unfortunate thing is many times the person running the business or department is aware of the situation, but either they can't or won't do anything about it. Now, that's kind of the tough reality. And I say this because it's not that uncommon to see leaders who know they don't have emotional buy-in from their employees, and they just don't care that much. They just don't care. On the other hand, companies with a culture of caring, who have effective leaders at all levels, are made up of people who believe they matter, and they have that emotional buy-in. They believe they're important to the overall success of the business. You can hear it when you talk with their employees. You can feel their sense of pride and engagement in what they do. You can see it and hear it in their actions, their work ethic, and their attitude. And these businesses have all these things, not only because the leadership is emotionally bought in, but they truly care about gaining their employees' emotional buy-in as well. If the importance of emotional buy-in seems so simple, logical, and important, why don't all companies and leaders try to get this from their people and teams? Well, there could be a lot of unique reasons, but from my experience, there are really only a handful of common ones. First, the upper leadership is too focused on running or managing the business instead of leading the people who make up the business. It's all about getting results today, now. And the people in the business are simply resources to help them get those results today, right now. Second, the leadership simply doesn't have enough time to invest in their people and teams to get the emotional buy-in. Everybody's busy and they don't feel they have the discretionary time to invest. Third, it's simply a lot easier to only focus on appealing to the intellect of others rather than the emotions. And since they're so wrapped up in the first two reasons, they take the easy path, which is intellectual buy-in. And fourth, those in some of these leadership positions really aren't leaders, but they're individual performers who happen to occupy a leadership role. And they don't understand the importance of the emotional buy-in, and they don't know how to get it. And this all speaks to the leadership gap I believe we have in business today. We tend to promote people who fit this erroneous mold again and again. If you're in a leadership position and you only care about the intellectual buy-in of your team, it's probably because you're only intellectually bought in yourself. If all you care about is whether people are doing their job, right? You do tasks 1 through 40 every day, and I just need you to do those tasks. Don't worry about why you're doing it, why it's important. If that's what you believe in, then you probably see your role as the same way, which means that the people above you probably don't care about your emotional buy-in. But since you're not emotionally bought in yourself, you can't inspire it in others. And the unfortunate thing about all this is the people on your team know this. You cannot hide the fact if, as a leader, your heart isn't in something, and when your team knows it, their heart won't be in it either. If you're struggling with your level of buy-in, you need to do some soul searching really and find out why. If you don't, you'll fall into the same trap as so many of those serving in leadership roles today, who simply go through the motions of their day because they're only intellectually bought into what they're doing. You need to be responsible for who you are, what you believe in and how you're leading those around you. Get the intellectual buy-in, yes, but work for the emotional buy-in of your team. Believe it's important, take the time, invest the energy and the effort. It's the only way you can really build a highly effective team. So thanks for watching today. I hope you took something away that you can use in your life, either personally or professionally. Next time we're going to talk a little bit about culture, and probably a little bit of different take than what you're used to, but we're going to talk about why it's important and how it affects your business. So if you're interested, you can check out my website, link below, link to my book on Amazon. You can also follow me on LinkedIn. I post clips to these videos pretty regularly, and the link to the videos in the message below. So anyway, thanks again, take care, and we'll see you next time.